transfer from my personal call of M0UKB to the club call sign of Mike X-Ray 0 Whiskey November November, or MX0 Wednesday Night Net, however you wish to remember it. Okay, we are using NetLogger, so you can follow along at home. You can use the blue screen. You can see what's going on the AIM window, etc. See some people already in there, and all that good sort of stuff. So, a couple of minor house rules, stroke helpful bits of information. We have got a fair bit of stuff connected of different modes and one thing or another. So, if you could please leave a good 3 to 5 seconds between overs. Just allows everything to reset, people to key up and do what they've got to do, etc. Also, when you do key up, wait a second from keying up to talking. Means make sure everything doesn't get chopped off. And finally, the big one, everything's set to a 3-minute timeout. So please, if you're going to have a long over, because you've got lots to say, and we want to hear everything you have got to say, if you're getting close to 3 minutes, just take a small pause or a piff, whichever one you want to call it, wait for a second or two, and then come back. And then that way we don't cause any network-wide chaos around the planet. Okay, I shall just take a set of pause. MX0WNN, continuing after my pause. Okay, so tonight's topic, folks, is we all heard about Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the other various social media platforms that are out there. So here is the question: is amateur radio the original social media? Yeah, is it the or social network, should we say? Were we trendsetters? Have we been going at it before Mark Zuckerberg was even born, or Elon Musk was around before he took over X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it? I'm not a Twitter user. Yeah, has he? Were we the trendsetters? You know, is there something special that we did where everybody else followed on from, or could more be done to promote things using the tools that we have? Given that every transmission that we make is available to be heard by one and all. There is the question. Okay, as I say, we are using NetLogger. We need to get some names in the logbook as such so we can start working our list. So please come with your name, call sign and location, preferably slowly, phonetically, and twice, because it is Wednesday and I'm slightly weary. Okay, this is MX0WNN. Looking for some check-ins, please.
M7BYD, M7BYD, Keith in Meadowfield.
Golf 7, Oscar Charlie Kilo, Golf 7, Oscar Charlie Kilo, Brian in the land of the Prince Bishops.
Okay, net recognizes G70CK, that's Brian, out there in the land of the Prince Bishops. And M7BYD, that's the one and only Keith, up there in Meadowfield, County Durham. So, is there anybody else out there that would like to join in? Don't be shy. If so, please come now.
Echo 1, Golf Foxtrot, Lima. 2E1, also, and Prince Bishops.
Okay, net recognizes Dennis. 2E1, GFL. Good evening to you, Dennis. Okay. Bit thin on the ground tonight, but we shall start it off, see if our little social network grows, he says with tongue firmly in cheek. Okay, Keith, it's over to you. Firstly, how are you doing? And secondly, are we pioneers? Is amateur radio the original social network? I don't know. It's over to you, Keith, for your thoughts on that. M7BYD from MX0WNN.
MX0 Wednesday night net. This is M7BYD. Well, a very good evening to you, Bruce, and indeed to my friends who are following and anybody else who joins the network. Great to be on tonight. In answer to the question, I'm quite a bit tired at the present time because I think everyone knows I'm doing a little bit of extra work, shall we say, and at my age it takes its toll. But other than that, yes, I'm keeping my head above water, which is all good stuff. What a lovely topic, and how true that is the statement, because so many things have been arranged on amateur radio well before anything like social media as we know it today via the internet, such like. I think it's a brilliant thing because people were forward thinking. How much has been arranged? Or I'll come around and see you, and we can. I can help you put that new antenna up, and friendship and fellowship, and you can go to clubs. All because of amateur radio.
Good evening, Keith. I'm glad you are doing well. You're not an old man, Keith. You're just a spring chicken. Yeah. There are various other things I could say, but I'm not going to. Not on the air. Yeah, so, Keith, like you say, many things have been arranged on amateur radio and performed on amateur radio. So, have you ever managed to arrange something? A sked, a meet-up in person, call it what you wish, going out for a meal, directions to the nearest wherever. Have you ever managed to use amateur radio as a means of communication, other than obviously passing a signal report, etc., but for something else as such? I wonder if you have. Have you met the friend of your dreams on amateur radio? I don't know. Maybe we have somebody out there listening who met their spouse or whatever on amateur radio. I don't know. There we go. That'll be an interesting one, wouldn't it, Keith? If we've managed to be not only the original social network, but the original speed dating. I don't know. Keith, over to you. M7BYD from MX0WNN.
MX0WNN. This is M7BYD. Quite a few people, I'm grateful to say. People actually you will know who've joined Bishop Auckland Radio Amateur Club, and spoken with friends on the air, and even arranged, if Alan is listening, G7VNM, indeed, round and enjoyed myself with when he's got his new DX Commander antenna. It was great to be a part of that, putting that, setting the different lengths of wire, etc. So yeah, from my point of view, and Danny, of course, and Danny has just got his 2E, and Danny's going to have to forgive me because I've forgotten the rest of his call sign. I'll have to get that into memory. It's shocking, nonetheless. So yeah, that to me. It makes a social network to me. It's just I don't think anybody's looked at it that way, and how true it is. It is our own, well before anything else. So thanks a lot, Bruce. I look forward to hearing remaining comments, and may there be many more who join you this evening here in the UK. That is. So thanks a lot, Bruce, and back to you. MX0 Wednesday Night Net from M7BYD.
Good evening, Keith, then from MX0WNN. Yeah, well, nice to hear that you've had a suitable amount of social interaction, let's call it, as a result of your time on the radio, which is what we're all about. You know, it's a hobby. We want to use it for the good, shall we call it, of meeting people in the flesh, etc., and organising things, etc. Okay then, Keith, I shall let you kick back in the armchair, relax, and hear what the others have got to say. So with that, I shall bid you 7-3 for the time being, and move on down the list to Brian. That's G7OCK. So Brian, it's over to you.
Yeah, good evening, Bruce, and everybody else that's in it. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to say yes. I believe amateur radio was the start of social networking, definitely. I can certainly remember when I first started in amateur radio in the early 90s, and it happened long before that. We used to use a system called packet radio, where we used to send text messages, basically, backwards and forwards to the answer machines, to the mailboxes, use the centralized databases and pull different bits and pieces, different files from centralized mailboxes. It was an interesting time, shall we say, from Golf 7 Oscar Charlie Kilo.
MX0WNN returning. Yeah, well, I was going to mention things like packet radio and slow scan TV, etc., and sending of pictures and all that good stuff. I've not done it myself, but I was thinking about FT8, actually, the fact that you can essentially send messages, and the fact that in the modern age, you can go on things like Grid Tracker and PSK Reporter and things like that, and you can see where your signals are getting to and all that sort of thing. And also the fact that you hear people, whether it be on HF or CW or SSB or 270 or whatever, you hear people and you think, oh, I've heard that call sign before, I've worked them before, etc. And you start to sort of build up a network, hence the social networking part of it. Yeah, so that was what got me started tonight. Right, back over to you, Brian. I hope you're doing well. G7OCK from MX0WNN.
Yeah, Roger, Bruce. Well, we have quite a efficient network going one way or the other. We had contacts going right around the world, basically, whether it be satellite, whether it be HF, or in some cases it was telephone cables under the Atlantic and different bits and pieces. But with packet, it used to be, well, it was basically an email system as such, as there is nowadays. And we could actually send mails to different people in different parts of the world, then use the BBS system and download files from it, which took a little bit longer, at times maybe 2 or 3 days, but at least you used to do it, and we used to still play around one way or the other. But yeah, it used to be very, very interesting, and I do believe it's starting to make a bit more of a comeback nowadays. Not so much around this area, but further south of the UK. But we shall see. I've still got a packet modem somewhere. In fact, I might still have a packet modem somewhere. And we might have to set something up again and see what we can get. It's been superseded, more or less, due to the APRS it's on now. But we'll get there. We might eventually get everything working, connected back up again. From Golf 7 Oscar Charlie Kilo.
Come back into favour, either in its very original form or slightly modified, inverted commas. But you know, it's amazing when you look at stuff that comes around. Speaking to my children, etc., of stuff, and going, oh, we've got this new thing, and yeah, that was around when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? Yeah, just ever so slightly different. So always interesting. Right then, Brian. Yeah, we might well have a resurgence in packet radio. Let's see what comes. Right, okay, we'll move on down the list where we find Dennis. That's 2E1 GFL. And Dennis, I don't believe you're alternate tonight. Maybe you're at home. I don't know. Over to you, Dennis. 2E1 GFL from MX0WNN.
Good evening to all on frequency this evening, and to your kind self, Bruce. Nope, I'm definitely at home. Not alternate. I'll be alternate tomorrow again. But I've been receiving brownie points. Been doing some decorating with Mary Dawn. So, done well today. I've done that thing that I should never have to mention, the 4-letter word. Having said that, it has been indoors. Back round to unit control.
Oh, Dennis, you haven't been doing some work, have you? But I suppose it's not real work unless it's paid employment for a boss, shall we call it, if that makes sense. And well, you can read out that what you wish, Dennis. Right, okay, round to you for your thoughts on amateur radio. And are we the trendsetters? Were we the real original social network? I don't know. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg was into amateur radio as a baby. I don't know. Over to you, Dennis.
Well, I agree with the two that was on before me. And Brian's took away what I was going to say about regional packet radio, etc. Send messages to each other. And as Keith was saying, if you don't know something and you ask, there's always somebody who'll come and give you a hand and show you how to do it, or explain and tell you how to do it. And I think there's more etiquette in amateur radio than social media. There's the odd ones that foul-mouth people and bad-mouth people. But I think 99.9% are always, as they say, good friends, or you can make some good friends. I'll just take a pip. Not just acquaintances. And not only that, Bruce, you've got to remember, I think it was back in early 1900s, 1910, or round about that way, when Titanic hit an iceberg. Who was it that spread the news about that? One of the first to hear the SOS that they put out. That was an amateur radio operator down in Wales. Back round to you, Bruce, net control.
MX0WNN return. Yeah, well, amateur radio operators have been useful in many situations, shall we say, over the years. And I suppose here's a question. Now, you mentioned Titanic, slightly off topic as such, but maybe it's on topic. This net started as a result of COVID, didn't it? If you remember, we couldn't do our usual stuff, so we decided we'd find alternative means. Were we simply, finding, rather than tapping around the keyboard on Facebook and whatnot and posting pictures, maybe were we going back to the real original roots of being social, actually talking to each other? I don't know. Over to you, Dennis.
Totally agree with you on that one as well, Bruce, because I know there's a lot more joined in now. Obviously, we are going further afield than what we first started. But going back to when we first started, there was always a good group of us on. It lasted a long time. The nets did go on for a good while. People joining in and dropping out and then calling back in again. So, yep, I think that's another box to tick. I think, yes, we can agree with you on that one, Bruce. From 2E1 GFL in the group.
MX0WNN returning. Oh, it's interesting how things go around, how they change, alter, then come back to something original, and I suppose not just in amateur radio in general. It's definitely cyclical, shall we say. A bit like the sunspot cycle in our hobby, but we can't always predict it as much. Like you say, we've always had fun on all the various nets and events and things that we've run. We've not always gone quite the way we intended, but we've always had a fair bit of dollop of fun. Right, put it back round to you, Dennis, for any final thoughts before I go to Gareth, who is a late addition via the internet.
Well, I did notice that Gareth had joined us. Not on the Blue Swell, on NetLogger. I noticed he logged in. Right, I shall drop Carrier and let Gareth put his 2 penneth in. And we never know, we might even hear from Helen as well. 7-3 for the moment, and I shall catch you further down the log, as they say. Background unit control.
MX0WNN returning. Yep, no problem at all there, Dennis. And as I say, we might hear from Helen. There's a thought. Right, okay, 7-3 to you there, and we shall catch you further down the log. Right, we go up north now. We go above the border. We go to Gareth. That's G0WR. Over to you, Gareth.
Good evening, Bruce, and everybody on the net from G0WUR up here in a rather pleasant, though humid, Stirling this evening. A cracking topic you've got there again, Bruce, tonight. I would have to agree with Brian on many of the same reasons, actually. I think that amateur radio definitely could take the crown of being the original social network, as Brian described, and I remember all too well the activities in packet radio, and that was brilliant time. I mean, that predated, internet in homes. Home PCs were a rarity still at that point, and of course it predated all things email and everything. It was a brilliant system. I remember having hours and hours of fun with that over the time. Setting up all different systems, and we had it fetching and retrieving everything from weather reports around the country, all sorts of messages going around on the BBSs and stuff. So yeah, very much so. I think it does take that crown, and I think it's still just as relevant today, as you say, with the times that we had over COVID. Amateur radio really came into its own in the sense that it connected people together, it got people talking, and kept people talking. Like I say, at a time when, all human contact kind of disappeared. So, yeah, the more recent origins as well definitely come into it. So it's a brilliant hobby. I absolutely love it. I really do. And, with all the connections and things that can be done, it's truly fascinating. I'll pass it back to you, Bruce. MX0WNN from G0WUR.
G0WR from MX0WNN. Well, yeah, it's certainly a fascinating hobby. And like you say, there's certainly a lot of stuff that predated me in the hobby and others. But you've got to be thinking about, like you say, packet radio, slow scan TV, you know, all this sort of stuff. Generally communicating to an open audience, because we can't encrypt our transmissions. So therefore, you know, if you put a CQ call out on 20 meters on SSB, or 40 meters on CW, or 2 meters on FM, or whatever, you know, whoever is in range of that, in inverted commas, can hear it. So, you know, they might hear you, in inverted commas. They might be able to see who you are. You know, you might meet a new friend. You might meet the future love of your life. I don't know. It's all, I suppose, when you look at likes of Facebook and LinkedIn and one thing or another, their whole concept is that it's people meeting other people through mutual connections, which I suppose is what we do on amateur radio. You know, for example, you and I might be talking on this net tonight, and you've said to a friend of yours, hey, come on, talk on this net. And they'll meet me, or they'll meet Dennis, or Brian, or Keith, or whoever. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. That's what got us going, Gareth, if that makes sense. I'm wandering a little bit. Over to you from MX0WNN.
Yeah, from G0WUR returning. And you're exactly right, Bruce. That was the thing. It's, you know, what amateur radio's always done. And it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because these days, you know, everyone will say, oh, but, you know, sort of, you know, well, that's what we've got smartphones for, or that's what we've got email for, various things. And I always find it funny when you then get this analogy of people say, so what is it you do with amateur radio? You know, and it's like, well, we can put out a CQ call, you know, basically, you know, it tells everybody, here I am, does somebody want to come and talk to me? And I find this hilariously funny, because I've explained that to people a few times, and you see this look of almost horror on their faces. What? You just put a message out there, you know, you're not necessarily talking to anybody, it's just whatever you say could be heard by one and all. They see, you know, of some people, they have this look of, but how could you possibly do that? You know, you know, it's not anybody you know. And yet there it is. We live in a modern age of, you know, things like Facebook, LinkedIn, the various other social medias that have come and gone in the interim. And what's the one thing that people do? You know, the recommended friend. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll friend them and send them a message. And it's people they don't know. So I always have a bit of a laugh. Especially with the social media fans on things like that, because it's a case of, you know, well, we use the other technology to, you know, try and make contacts. I do the same, but, you know, put a voice to it. But, of course, yes, with the other means as well, with the data, the FT8 and all sorts of things. So, yeah, it is really the scenario of somebody meeting their future back to Bruce from G0WUR.
G0WUR from MX0WNN. Yeah, no problem at all there, Gareth. Yeah, it's interesting. I've had the same people saying, what do you talk about on the radio? Well, it could be the weather. It could be something technological. It could be the state of the global economy. It could be about cars or anything, you know. You know, the usual caveats of trying to avoid religion and politics, you know, because they're often emotive topics, shall we say. But, you know, it could be just about anything. And the even more shocked one of, but you don't know these people. And like you, I've said to people, says, well, okay, I was, seeing plenty of people post holiday pictures on Facebook, or a picture of a dog or their kids or whatever it might be, that they're into, and they don't necessarily know the people that are going to see them. So what's the difference? Other than you actually have to talk to these people, heaven forbid. Some people do look at you as if you've grown 3 heads and one thing and another, and the concept of actually having a conversation. Wow, it's a unique and special thing. Round to you, Gareth.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It definitely. It's great fun because some people get completely weirded out by that concept. I know the other one is when I've been talking about radio and some of the contacts that we've had further afield over in like USA and stuff, amateurs that have become really good friends with, and always enjoy chatting to them and hearing their conversations when they're on air, and I'll be telling people about this as well, and the sort of the query of so when was it you got to meet up? It's like, I've never met any of these people. It's a voice on radio. And that's another really good one that you can see people struggling to gain the concept with that one. As I say, it's such a funny thing because in so many walks of life now, between social media contacts, especially sort of, as you get younger than, shall we say, generation that have grown up with the social media, they're constantly talking to people that could be absolutely anywhere, or the same with multiplayer online gaming, add a headset, you can be talking away to the people that you're gaming with, in that sense, what we do with amateur radio is not that much different in terms of the worldwide comps. But it's trying to get people used to that concept, I suppose, is the one. But it is great fun, definitely. And listening to what Brian was saying earlier about having different packet modems and stuff. Yep, I've got 2 actually sat here, and I have been debating about doing something with them for ages. So you never know, might come up with something. I must admit, one of the ones I'd like to play with maybe is try and get an extended Freedom Network packet all-star node. Could just be an amusing bit of fun. All right, back to you, Bruce. Brilliant topic. Interesting what thoughts and ideas come out of this one. MX0WNN from G0WUR.
MX0WNN returning. Yeah, it is always strange when some people sort of can't quite get their head around the fact that we although we've met on the radio in inverted commas, we've not actually all sat down together in the pub or the village hall or wherever it may be. But you've not actually met these. Well, I have. I've probably shared more information with contacts on amateur radio and know more about them and their families than people that have genuinely met in the flesh. Okay. Right. Okay, Brian. Not Brian. Gareth. I'll break with you, sir. Sorry, the brain's gone to mush. And that does put us at the bottom of the list. So we'll see if there's anybody else lurking out there that would like to join in. Hey, we don't bite. You know what to do. Come now with your name, call sign, location, and we shall have a chinwag. This is MX0WNN.
From King America 3, Boston, Mary Sugar. King America 3, Boston, Mary Sugar in Pennsylvania.
Good afternoon, Hank. I hope you're doing well. Nice to hear from you again as ever. And so our little topic tonight, don't know if you've quite caught it all, is was amateur radio the original social network? quote, discuss, if that makes sense. So, and also, how are you doing, Hank? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so there you go. There's our topic to discuss tonight, if you so choose, and yeah, wonder what your thoughts are. Over to you, Hank. KA3BMS from MX0WNN. Good evening.
Yeah, good afternoon. I hope everybody's doing well. KA3BMS in southeastern Pennsylvania. I guess you guys heard about what happened Saturday here in western Pennsylvania, where there was an attempt on a presidential candidate. On ham radio, I've discussed all sorts of topics, except for those which are best not to be spoken about. Over the 46 years I've been a ham radio operator, usually it's best to, I felt, to have technical conversations about radio or some other science-related project or topic, and even history, local history, American history, some ancient history, things like that. Nonetheless, I try to keep all my conversations neutral, because I just don't want to. Well, people can misinterpret stuff easily. You know, stupid little stuff that amounts to nothing. You know, get their feathers all ruffled up again over absolutely stinking lousy as can be extraneous nonsense. So it's best just to keep everything neutral and where no one could get upset. But there you go. This is King America 3 Boston, Mary Sugar. I don't even like to discuss that we celebrate with anyone from the United Kingdom or Britain. We just celebrated our 248th anniversary of independence. You know, for fear of causing some difficulties with people in the United Kingdom. KA3BMS, over.
KA3BMS from MX0WNN. Hey, no offence caused with me at all, Hank. I have a good number of friends in the US, and I count yourself within that, Hank. And we trade we trade polite but friendly banter, let's call it, over the history of the US and UK relations, as do I with my Australian friends as well. So don't worry. And yeah, happy 4th of July, or belated 4th of July to you as well, Hank. We haven't spoken since. Yeah, now I know exactly what you mean about there are certain topics, shall we say, that are best avoided on any form of discussion, usually with people. But I have to admit, I do see. I think as amateur radio operators, now correct me if I'm wrong here, Hank, I generally get the feeling that when we're actually talking on air, people are far more mindful about what they say in relation to what they say than when they're sat behind a keyboard, if that makes sense. You see a lot of times on Facebook and Twitter and all sorts of people sort of making outlandish claims and, you know, saying stuff and one thing or another. You think, would you actually say that if you were really talking to the person? You know, let alone if they were sat in front of them. But yeah, on radio, we do generally tend to be a far more sort of restrained bunch, if that makes sense. Back to you, Hank, from MX0WNN.
so-called interactions between people on the computers via the internet usually is a very what's the word? Hidden conversation, whereas some kind of knuckleheaded goofball jerk wanted to communicate something stupid and bully another person. Part can hide behind a computer, and no one would find him again. You know, the average person wouldn't find him again. Yet on amateur radio, we have to identify with our call signs, which are associated with our names and addresses and operating locations. We do have specific rules and regulations to follow. I do know of instances where, going back over 25 years ago, a ham intentionally interfered with a net on 40 meters, and eventually he was caught by the FCC and lost his license for a few years, was fined $7,500, and could not operate any sort of two-way radio at all, not even family radio service or CBs or anything. And for what? You know, why did he intentionally interfere? I don't know. I can only, guess. But, he's dead now. But nonetheless, there's no sense in doing, things that are, that you wouldn't do in front of your mother or sisters. That's the way I try to behave myself. Yet I've heard people get upset about me complimenting you British people for speaking English very well for foreigners. The things people get upset about. This is KA3BMS.
KA3BMS from MX0WNN. Well, yeah, we don't do bad for a foreign lot, in inverted commas, speaking our own language. Yeah, you want to try and move around the UK. There's enough dialects and different bits and one thing or other thrown in for good measure. It certainly makes life interesting. But I know what you mean about the having to identify yourself. I think, whilst anonymity is good in certain situations, and I'll say something slightly provocative, at the ballot box, for example, but if you want to effectively launch insults, or not you personally, Hank, so I didn't mean that come across that way, but if anybody wants to launch an insult, if you've actually got to stand behind it and put a name behind it, people often think twice, if you know what I mean. And I think that is one of the good things with amateur radio, of you can't just launch stuff and be anonymous. People will take you to task, and like you say, your call sign is traceable back to your name, your address. Ultimately you can lose your amateur radio operating license, etc. It makes people think twice before doing stuff. I think, okay, you're always going to get the odd person that doesn't, but I think in general, yeah, it does. It makes us hold ourselves to I'm not going to say a higher standard, but let's call it a reasonable standard, if that makes sense. Where maybe, and hopefully, people show a bit of restraint, and like you say, don't say stuff that they wouldn't say in front of family, etc. Okay, back to you one final time, Hank. And I've enjoyed having this chat. I always do. It's nice to bring a different slant onto it as well. Over to you, Hank. KA3BMS from MX0WNN.
Yeah, okay, well, fair enough. Thank you for taking my point of view at face value. Perhaps mine is developed differently than yours due to my circumstances, which are unique to yours, cultural differences, societal differences. Though yet Pennsylvania was founded by an Englishman, William Penn. Though it's been influenced by other European cultures, in my case, German and Irish. But it's good to hear you. We've been suffering through some very bad heat here and heat indexes lately. Up to, I think I saw 40. I did a calculation once. We had 105 heat factor. Heat factor is the opposite of wind chill. And the heat factor was 105 Fahrenheit, which would be about 42, 43, or 44, if I remember right, centigrade. And we had 35 degrees, 38 degrees centigrade temperatures here. And very dry weather. I have to do some gardening in my vegetable beds. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put myself out in that hot sun until the air temperatures are down. And I'm a senior citizen, and I can't put up with that stuff like I used to 20 years ago when I did it professionally. Good to hear you. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Good luck to you. Think snow. K3BMS. Bring me snow.
MX0WNN returning. Yeah, no problem at all, Hank. Yeah, I know you've been having some serious heat out there in the States. I was out there, when was I out there? Middle of June, and it was warm, but it wasn't as warm as it is now. I'm actually coming back out in a week's time to southern Georgia, where I understand it is going to be a little bit toasty, I think is the only way to describe it from an English perspective. We weren't designed for that sort of heat, so it's going to be rather fun, shall we say. But yeah, no, do stay safe, Hank. It is lovely to get perspective from all over the place. So no, hey, Hank, I wouldn't pick these topics if I didn't want discussion, if that makes sense. I try to pick topics, folks, where it gets people talking, and I never, ever want anybody to think that they can't, have free reign to say what they want to say and discuss stuff. Just because I have a point of view does not mean it's always right, and I love when people can have a really nice chat. It's the sort of thing that we would do down the pub or in the village hall or wherever it may be, or at the park. So that's what we want. We want to be able to have that good chat. So no problem at all. Hey, Hank, you take care of yourself. Stay safe. For goodness sake, please do not go out in the middle of the day and do your gardening. That would not be good at all. So please do. Stay safe there, Hank. All right. Okay, we'll break with you, Hank. That does put us at the bottom of the list. So let's see. Is there anybody else out there that would like to have a bit of a natter tonight? Topic is simple. Was amateur radio, or is amateur radio, the original social network? Okay. Come now with your name, call sign, location, and we'll have a bit of a chin-wag from MX0WNN.
Please, I'm curious. May I ask you, please, what will you be doing in southern Georgia? I'm only curious. If you don't want to answer, you say, Hank, I don't want to answer, and I'll still respect you in the morning. K3BMS. I beg your pardon.
KA3BMS from MX0WNN. Hank, I'll always answer. That's not a problem. Hey, I would never share something that I would never venture forth on something that I wasn't prepared to expand upon on the radio, if that makes sense. No, I'm going to go and see. I haven't seen them for about 8 or 9 years. Some very, very good friends of mine. Obviously, as you know, I travel all around the world with my job, and if I've got and I have friends all around the world from various hobbies, etc. And if I'm ever near any of them, I try, if I can, to schedule it in to see them. And I've actually got to go to Peru for work, and my route out there takes me via Miami, which is effectively, in your terms, a hop, skip, and a jump from their place, because they're on the very border of Florida and Georgia. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have a week's vacation, because I've got some vacation owing, and I'm going to go and see them and have a bit of time with them. So, yeah, that's who I'm going to go and see, and I am having a holiday, Hank, or vacation, as you like to put it. Back to you from MX0WNN.
Good, then have fun. If I crossed any line, I apologize. You know, I'm simply curious. That's all there is to it. Good evening to you. Take care. Thank you, K3BMS.
KA3BMS from MX0WNN. Hey, Hank, no line was crossed whatsoever. Don't you worry at all. No line was crossed. Please do not worry. I don't mind answering those sorts of questions at all. Absolutely not a problem. Right, no problem. Hank, we'll break with you and we shall ask, is there anybody out there that would like to come on and have a general chat with us? That's what we're all about. This is MX0WNN. Please come with your name, call sign and location.
Mike 7 Golf Kilo Echo. Mike 7 Golf Kilo Echo. Cheshire, UK.
Good evening. I believe the name is Adam, according to QRZ, and that's Mike 7 Golf Kilo Echo. Good evening, Adam. I hope you're doing well. My name is Bruce. I don't know how long you've been listening to the net. This is the Wednesday night net. It was we had to think of a name for it. It happened on the Wednesday night, and it was a net. So we were a real creative bunch, shall we say? So yeah, we usually have a little topic or whatever that we discuss to sort of see what's what. And the idea tonight was quite simple. Is amateur radio the original social network? There you go. Discuss. Over to you. Oh, by the way, my normal call is M0UKB, but on the Wednesday night net, we use the club call of MX0WNN, just in case you're wondering what on earth it was all about. So, Adam, M7GKE, over to you from MX0WNN, and welcome.
Cheers, Bruce. MX0WNN from M7GKE. Can't really go into too much depth with regards to the question, was radio the original social media, so to speak, but I guess it was, you know. It came before the internet. We were talking on the wireless for decades before the internet came along with fibre optics and all that. I'm a 2 weeks licensed ham. Thoroughly wet behind the ears, but to come back into it from Charlie Bravo radio has been, to put it another way, inspiring, mind-blowing. The things that it can do. I've recently ordered myself a hotspot. I just can't believe that, you know, using my normal mobile radio, I can pop up digitally on a repeater somewhere across anywhere in the world, pop out on a FM or a digital repeater and have a chat with someone around the world. It's just mind-blowing. I'm so excited to do that and try a bit of SOTA activations. Over. Back to you. M7GKE, back to net control.
M7GKE from MX0WNN. Well, Adam, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. I have to admit, I've not been that long in the hobby. Okay, it was 4 years ago, I got into the hobby, just before COVID hit, and I've loved every minute of it now, compared to some people that have been into it for a considerable number of years / decades, let's call it. I know Hank that preceded you, I'm sure he won't mind me sharing, but I know he's been into amateur radio as long as I've been alive, which is like 40 plus years. So, we have a variety of people, shall we say, on this net that have been into it for different durations of time. We welcome everybody. I'm glad you're having fun with your hotspot. And yeah, amateur radio now is a very, very interesting place. I'm not saying it wasn't before, but what with the advent of technology and one thing or another, there is all sorts you can do. I haven't even scratched the surface. We sort of coined the phrase on this net that the amateur radio is the hobby of 1,000 hobbies, because there's so many little bits and bobs you can get into. So welcome. Over to you, M7GKE from MX0WNN.
MX0WNN and 7GKE. Bruce, I'm just mind blown. Like you say, I'm interested in radio astronomy and all that kind of things as well. So coming back to the radio waves and what we can do with them, it's just been absolutely eye-opening. Things like packet radio and stuff, I didn't even realise that existed, to be honest, until I started looking into. I was inspired by a local club to me. Gave me a gentleman there, G0RXA, Nigel. He gave me a few links via email. We were communicating, and I haven't managed to get hold of him on the airwaves yet, but hopefully one day I'll pop in on his local net there in Stockport and surprise him with the call sign. Over.
MX0WNN returning. Well, I'll tell you what is surprising there, Adam. When you scratch the surface and you find out people that you've known for a good while, because I've had this happen as well, through other hobbies and bits and pieces, and all of a sudden you find out, oh yeah, I'm an amateur as well, or I was, or I'll get back into the hobby and bits and pieces. I've got a few friends that have sort of let slip. I got into amateur radio, and they went, "Oh, really? I am as well." Or I was, and I kind of fell out of love with it. Well, if you're on it, I'll get back into it. We'll try and have a conversation, etc., and one thing or other. So, see who and what you can find, and it's always a good one. As I say, there's loads to get into in the hobby. It's really, really fun. We're here every Wednesday night, 7:30 UK time, and we usually have a little bit of a topic to discuss. It's an icebreaker, for want of a better description, rather than as always discussing the weather. Don't worry, it's not the contents of the full license examination or anything too technical. Sometimes people want to get technical, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes people want to sort of just say hello. That's also fine. And sometimes people want to be somewhere in the middle. Again, that's fine. We take everybody. We don't mind what mode they're coming on, so long as the only real rule, there's two rules. It must be legal, and you must be having fun. That was what we discovered the other week, that if you're not having fun, you'll be summarily expelled from the network. No, only kidding. We like people to have fun, and that's all. So there you go. So I hope you are having fun, and back round to you one more time before we see if there's anybody else that would like to join in. If you've got any questions at all, just shout. M7GKE from MX0WNN.
0WNN from M7GKE. Bruce, it's been fantastic. And going back to your earlier comments between yourself and Hank, since just speaking to like-minded people like at the local Radio Amateurs Club and people on I can honestly say, as a new ham, and if anybody's listening that are thinking about doing their foundation license or their technician license or whatever the entry-level examination is, don't be scared of doing it. I did it without any help. I got the books from my local end in the UK, Radio Society of Great Britain, in a bundle, all 3 books. I read it just in in my own time, and then finally after speaking to my local club, plucked up the courage. So just get out there and do it. I'm looking forward to getting out there hiking and doing some photo work. So yeah, that's my final. MX0WNN from M7GKE. Back to you in the net. Thank you very much.
M7GKE from MX0WNN. No, thank you very much for taking the time to pick up the microphone and to key up. That is one of the hardest things in this hobby. There are a lot of what we might call licensed listeners. You know, actually taking the plunge, picking up the microphone and pressing the PTT. You've done the hard bit there, Adam. You really have. The hardest bit at the start is taking the exam. After that, the next hardest bit is actually pressing the button. And there's plenty of full license holders, etc., or whatever the equivalent grade is around the world, that don't press the button. So, yeah, you really have done the tricky bit. Welcome to a great hobby, and I'm sure you'll have lots of fun. SOTA, etc., and all that good stuff. I love getting out portable. Unfortunately, time doesn't always allow me to, but yeah, enjoy it. Really, really genuinely do. And you're always welcome on here. You know, if you go on my QRZ page, my M0UKB one, you will see links to various networks, the Extended Freedom Network and one thing or other. Have a look at it, and you'll find loads of good stuff and different nets. They're all slightly different. They've got different net controllers and different slants, let's call them. So something for everybody, as they say. Right, no problem. I shall stop waffling. I wish you 7-3, and we'll see. Is there anybody else out there that would like to check in? If so, please come now.
Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Delta Mike. I can check in and be around for a few minutes.
Okay, this is MX0WNN. I believe that was Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Delta Mike, which, if I'm correct, is Doug out there in Ontario, Canada. Good evening, Doug. I hope you're doing well. Name this way is Bruce, Bravo Romeo Uniform Charlie Echo, and we're asking tonight, is amateur radio the original social network? Over to you, Doug.
Yes, that's exactly what it would be. I used to listen in my early days with school and so on. I used to listen to Hammer Spot, and I wanted to write my tips, but back then, he was mandatory, and I said, I do have to go over to six before it's finished. So I just said, hell with it. So I'm relatively new. I've been licensed about February, and I wrote my advance in April. So,
Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Delta Mike. Doug, I just lost you there. It was a little bit noisy, so I wonder if you're still there, Doug. Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Delta Mike from MX0WNN. Okay there, Doug, this is MX0WNN. I'm afraid, Doug, we didn't get any of that last transmission. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to you in a second if you're in a better place. But you are on the log, and thank you for what we did here. We do appreciate it. Okay, I shall ask, is there anybody else that would like to join in? If so, please don't be shy. Please come now. This is MX0WNN.
This is 2 Echo 0 XQK. 2 Echo 0 XQK.
Echo 0 XQK. Good evening. This is MX0WNN. Well, good evening, sir. And yeah, the mic is all yours.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not very well. I just wondered whenever it was Doug from Guelph, Ontario, Canada. I don't really know. I've spoken to him a while ago. But unfortunately, the fella who had the link died a few years ago, and I was unable to connect again, you know. So, yeah, thanks for letting me in. I've never used this for ages, you know. So my chest isn't well, so I can't talk too long. But I much appreciate it. Name's Dennis at this end, yes?
Dennis, this is MX0WN. Name this way is Bruce. And yeah, well, that's the club call sign for the net on a Wednesday night. My normal call, my personal call is M0UKB. So, hey, well, that answers the question tonight there, Dennis. You know, was amateur radio the original social network? Well, it sounds like you've managed to sort of reconnect there with Doug. So, yeah, obviously, it is the question. And alas, we hear that you're not very well with your chest, so obviously we'll keep it short with you. But a pleasure to have you on there, and thank you for coming in. And I do hope that your chest either gets better or that we don't cause it any grief by making you talk too long. So I'll pass it back to you one more time, and you can be as long or as short as you want. We don't mind at all, Dennis. Over to you, 2 Echo 0 XQK from MX0WNN.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button, got disconnected. I'm a bit rusty at this. Yeah, I missed that. I don't know if it was Doug from Guelph, Ontario, Canada or not now, because I cut myself off there. But yeah, but thanks very much for letting us in there, and I'll just stand by for a little while. Okay? And thank you very much. Thank you.
MX0WNN returning. Yeah, not a problem at all there, Dennis. Always a pleasure, and you're welcome whenever. And it was Doug from Canada. So there you go. Right, no problem at all. Okay, that does put us at the bottom of the list. So let's ask the question: is there anybody else out there that would like to join in? If so, please come now. Okay, this is MX0WNN. Well, okay, we've got nobody else. Is there anybody who'd like to recheck? If so, please come now. Okay, MX0WNN returning. Well, in that case, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for taking part. Thank you for those that called in. Thank you for those that connected their networks, gateways, repeaters, hotspots, hubs, whatever you wish to call them. In particular, thanks to a few particular networks. In no particular order, well, we'll start with the IRN, International Radio Network, who are connected 24/7 to the Extended Freedom Network. Thank you so much to them. We do appreciate it. There are too many people to list individually, but I'll give a big shout out to Uncle Bob, the main man there. How's that sound? So Uncle Bob, if you're listening, hello to you. also to the ANZEL network, the South Wales Digital Group, there's the Northumberland Scouts, the CQ North, there's DB Scotland Phoenix. Who else have we got? We've got the Bishop Auckland Radio Amateurs Club. There's a few to start with, shall we say. Oh, and there's the Worldwide Ragtube Amateur Radio Network out there as well. So there's a few that are connected for the Wednesday Night Net. We do appreciate it. We know that there are other people out there, and just generally thank you to everybody for taking part and being part of the fun. Because without you folks, there wouldn't be a net, plain and simple. Okay, at this point, I shall hang up the club call sign of MX0WNN, and I shall take back my own personal call of M0UKB. 2 seconds, folks. This is Mike 0, Uniform Kilo Bravo. Well, thank you everybody for taking part tonight in the net. Do appreciate it. I will be going clear after this, unless anybody wants to call me, in which case I'll stick around if I like you, and hope all is well. Okay, thanks everybody for taking part. Do appreciate it, and hope you have a good rest of the week. There's loads of other stuff on. Check out the website, but in particular, Friday night, 9 PM UK time, it's the KB1 Multimode Net with our good friend Graham, GM0UUB from Central Scotland. Always worth checking out, folks. Always fun. Right, take care. 7-3, folks. This has been M0UKB. Off and clear unless otherwise called. Okay, folks. There was something coming through there, but we've obviously got sorted. Just was M0UKB, just saying thank you, and 7-3 to all. I'll be off and clear unless otherwise called. Take care and have a good rest of the week. From M0UKB.
M0UKB from M7GKE. Thanks very much, Bruce. Appreciated that. Thanks for making me feel welcome. And anyone else listening, like you said, just get over that fear. Pick up the microphone. 73s, mate. Great to talk to you. Ta-ra. M7GKE. Going to USB.
M7GKE from M0UKB. Not a problem at all there, Adam. You take care, and you're always welcome. And it was a pleasure to have you on. Okay, 7-3 from M0UKB.
Cable 3 Boston, Mary Sugar, KA3 BMS Radio.